Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. It's June 15th, and it's about 7:52 in the morning. And we had a heck of a night last night, and I'm going to cover that with you today. We'll go through the damage we did on Iran and the damage Iran did on Israel. We also hit Yemen last night, targeted assassination. We also hit Gaza. We hit 3 locations last night. And we're going to talk about Iran. I have one report I can't verify yet. Hit an American base in the Middle East, but I can't verify, so I don't know if it's true. And tomorrow, the Parliament of Iran is going to meet to discuss closing the Straits of Hormuz, which is going to pinch off much of the flow of oil out of the Persian Gulf and should nicely spike oil prices. I don't think anything like $200, but we might see $85, $95 a barrel, something like that. Maybe 100 even, I don't know. But it's not going to be catastrophic. It's going to be ugly, but not catastrophic. Um, America's moving a lot of aircraft around in the Asia Pacific theater. We don't know exactly why. And there's rumors that Trump may occupy one of Iran's nuclear facilities that's been hit by Israel, but I can't get a verification about that from the government of America. So we do not know if that is true or not true. We have no idea. Okay? Uh, it could be true, but we don't know. Um, Hang on, I got some news. Maybe it'll give us some insights about the American base. Um, no. Okay, I'm going to go into the live stream, make sure we got a live stream, and make sure we got sound and picture. We got make sure plenty of sound and picture. Moderators are here. Great. Thanks to the moderators. They really help out. Okay, people are coming in. Everything looks good. Let me get one post up there. I'll do it as a cut and paste. Unless it was deleted, which it was yesterday. I forgot to redo it. I'll redo it. I think I can do it here quicker than I can. It'll just be a couple of seconds. No typos. computer is actually broken. Or it's malfunctioning for some reason. There's nothing I could do but go through it. Sorry. I seem to have gotten it finally.
Ken, Ken,
What?
they called that yawn just not a massive casualty incident because they're digging in and finding so many people.
Oh. I'm on the air, you know.
Oh, sorry. No, you're not making any noise.
Okay, got my post up. People are coming in. Let me do some praise and get started. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so Iran launched 2 barrages of missiles at us during the night, and they're changing their approach, making it more effective for them. They're concentrating on specific cities to overwhelm our defense mechanisms. So they're not trying to send missiles a little bit here, a little bit there, all around the country. They're trying to hit specific cities. So they hit the Tel Aviv area and the Haifa area last night. There's a city you'll hear called Bat Yam, which got hit, which is right out of Tel Aviv, and another city right out of Tel Aviv, and that's where they were hitting. Okay, there's currently 40 dead people that we know about. There's at least 35 people missing, so they could be in the rubble. They had direct hits on civilian apartment buildings. Iran doesn't care about hitting civilians. What Iran is trying to do is trying to make Israel stop attacking them. They're of the belief that America will do nothing to them. And they're, based on that, they're of the belief that if they get Israel to stop, like, what would that look like? Well, Israel would say, we'll stop if you stop, and Iran says, okay, we'll stop if you stop, and then it stops, okay? And then Iran goes about its merry way with their nukes and bombs and missiles and builds up to kill Israel again another day. They're getting shellacked right now. Okay, last night they had over, I don't know, Iran probably had about 100 or 200 dead people or more. I had to count. I put it up in Telegram. Many, many injured. So they would like to see it stopped. Okay? So this report of them hitting an American base, it makes me scratch my head, Because I don't really know or understand why Iran would hit an American base and trigger a cascade of attacks coming from America and allies. I don't understand why they would do that. Just like America's afraid to hit Iran, Iran's afraid to hit America. I don't think you're going to see them hit America. What you will see them do is shut the Straits of Hormuz because they believe that America is afraid of them. Okay? Now, I'm not saying this is the reality. I'm saying this is what they believe. Okay? Now, they're not bright people. They're run by a criminally insane, psychotic, calling himself the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini, or whatever the heck he calls himself now. Okay? The best off switch we would have to shut Iran down, and it's only a maybe off switch at best, is to kill Khomeini. We already bombed his house in his neighborhood. We didn't get him, that we know about. Now, a lot of Iranian private aircraft took off the other day, day before yesterday, and there's rumors they went to Russia, but we don't know. And it's possible that they relocated their private aircraft away from the big cities in Iran to the more rural areas, hoping that those airports aren't going to get hit. Israel did hit an airport and destroy a bunch of aircraft, so it's rather supposition to say they went to Russia, but they may have. A lot of people are saying they really went to Russia. So they might be sitting there having dinner with Bashar Assad in Moscow. They are an ally of Russia, and Russia would probably be rather happy to let them come stay in Moscow for a while, maybe years. And we don't know if the Khomeini supreme leader, jackass, actually got on a plane dressed like a regular person and went to Moscow and is having dinner with Bashar Assad. We don't know that. Is it a possibility? It is. Do I have anything to base it on? No, other than the fact that we bombed his house and neighborhood and got no results. So could he be in Moscow and just transmitting messages that he makes in Moscow? Yeah, he could be, but I have nothing to base it on other than just wild guessing. I don't really think yet he's there. Okay, he's hoping for a resolution. Now, here's the problem, and many of you are not going to like this, and many of you are not going to understand it, and I'm sorry about that. But the end of this age has not come yet. And Satan's the god of this age, and he runs all the countries in the world. Every single country in the world, including Israel and America, is run by people serving the unclean spirits, period. Okay? If you don't get through that, I can't help you. Okay? Now, how is Israel being stabbed in the back? We know Satan would take great assurance, great pleasure, and relief if there was no more Israel. Because that means Israel's not going to be the head of the nations, he's not going into the pit for 1,000 years, blah, 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 blah. So would he take the leaders of Israel and have them turn against their own country? Of course he would. Of course. Don't give it a second thought. And would they do it? what's their choice? Telling Satan no? They're afraid they'll get killed. How would Satan kill him? With a human, murder him or something, right? Look at Trump and the Secret Service. Do you think none of the Secret Service agents on the presidential detail serve the unclean spirits? I think practically all of them do. Okay? So how hard would it be for the unclean spirits to have these people turn against Trump and get Trump killed or kill? Not hard, would it? No. So they got a double-edged sword, the United States, with their Secret Service. They could take the president out better than anybody else, and they could also protect him. This is all news to you because the preppers and the survivalists and the gun people with their social media, they don't talk like this to you because they're making merchandise out of you. That's why. And they don't want to give you any information that might offend you. Okay? None of these channels are ever going to tell you anything that might make a person think they're not going to go to heaven as long as they check in to a church every Sunday for an hour and a half. Okay? And that's pretty far from the truth. Okay, let's, what did Paul tell Timothy? Pay attention to doctrine, because with doctrine you'll save yourself and those that hear you. And the doctrine of the churches across the board is appallingly erroneous. Moving forward, why is Netanyahu hitting oil? Now, I'm going to give Netanyahu all the benefit of the doubt here, okay? But still, we're going to have some pretty bad questions about what's going on, okay? And you'll see. Why is Netanyahu concentrating on oil fields instead of missile launchers? Does he want to see Israel get hit with missiles? Does Trump want to see this? Good question, isn't it? How about that question? What do you think, huh? Interesting question. Nobody else asks it. They don't even ask it in Israel that I hear of. So why isn't he hitting the missile launcher sites? Well, maybe, I'm going to give him all the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's thinking if he hits the oil refineries, which he did last night, some of them, I think 2, not completely devastating, but enough to put them on fire, and that's really, really bad, okay? He hit 2 of them, and the message could be to Iran, look, if you keep hitting our civilian population centers, we're going to collapse your economy, and we're going to collapse your government leadership, and we're going to collapse your religious leadership. And we also hit Iranian government centers like for intelligence and military command last night also. So is Netanyahu trying to take out their infrastructure? The power in Tehran mostly or entirely was out last night, no lights. Okay, that means panic. The people there are panicked. Okay, so this is fulfilling Jeremiah 49, where the country of Iran, which is called Elam, gets so busted up that people have to leave and they scatter into all the countries in the world where the sword follows them and they get cut off, which is what they are trying to do to Israel. So back to this question. Was Netanyahu well-meaning with what he did last night by hitting the command centers and the oil refineries and taking out the power in Tehran? I have to say, yes, it's highly possible he was correct in doing this. He's got an impossible situation that he's not going to tell the Israeli people about, and that's that Iran has numerous missile launchers and many missiles spread about the country, and at best we've taken out 25 or 30% of them. So why did he go towards oil refineries and government infrastructure and power plants and stuff. Why? Well, he's thinking he may at least get Iran to stop attacking civilians. Didn't work. Okay? It appears the United States that Israel is going to use aircraft to strike Iran twice every 24 hours. Why? Well, you've got to you got pilot issues. They got to go to sleep and rest, right? And then you've got issues with flying over there, rearming, coming back, and then, so it appears that they're going to be 2 big attacks a day on Iran. Now, I have a feeling this is likely going to up to 3. Okay, and that it's going to be about all she wrote, because I don't think Israel can do more than 3 wave attacks a day. Yeah, I'm picking up rumors that we're able to carry extra fuel tanks on F-35s now because there's no radar in Syria or Iraq to threaten us. That's the countries we go through to approach Iran. So we run on those, let's call them auxiliary fuel tanks first, right? Because they're hung outside the fuselage of the plane, outside the body of the plane. So the plane is not very stealthy anymore because of those fuel tanks, okay? But once they get ready to leave Syria and or Iraq, they drop those auxiliary fuel tanks and continue the mission on the internal fuel tanks, which are inside the fuselage, thus stealthy. They're inside the wings and all that, right? So it's stealthy. It still maintains stealth, okay? But Iran has nothing to shoot at anymore. Their missile or anti-aircraft defense systems are so archaic right now. They're using machine guns, probably 20 millimeters or 50 cal, I don't know what, 30 millimeter, 40 millimeter, I don't know what. Probably not 40 millimeter, probably 20 millimeter, I don't know, to shoot at the plane, which is just a show to maybe make their people feel better, And they're passing off phony rumors like crazy. Like the other day, there was a big hoopla that they shot down 2 Israeli F-35s and captured a female pilot, and they had artificial intelligence pictures of pilots or pilots they captured. There was a male and a female pilot they were showing pictures of. And, everybody went to the, Israeli Air Force and said, well, what's going on? Are there missing planes or pilots? And we got an official statement out that said there's absolutely no missing planes and no missing pilots and no shoot-downs. They would never lie about this because the families of the pilots would figure it out in a couple of days and at most, and that would be very, very bad for them. So they're not lying about it. Nothing was taken down. So the Iranians are trying to bolster confidence in their people. Now, it is being thought that there could be a revolution in Iran that would lead to mob riots in the streets, killing the elite and robbing their houses and stuff like that. This could be another reason why when we saw the private planes take off, they went to Russia. They weren't just in a rural part of Iran. That wouldn't save them. So it's a very interesting dilemma. I'm rather sure America and Israel knows where these characters went. Netanyahu mentioned them leaving, so the way Netanyahu phrased it was not that they moved to another part of Iran, that they hit the road and probably to Russia. He didn't say Russia. So I'm pretty sure they did go to Russia. Now, we have to leave room for the fact that this Khomeini idiot actually did go to Russia also, which means there's nobody running the ship. But we've seen this with Muslim fanatics, with Hamas. The real idiots running Hamas were, for a long time, like a year, sitting in Qatar at a 5-star hotel running the war from Qatar. So it's possible that Khomeini is in Russia, although we don't know that. I'm telling you it's possible, but we don't know that. And Netanyahu would never say it unless he had complete verification of it. But what is my hunch? He's still in Iran. But he may take off. We'll see. Israel knows killing him is a very good thing at this point. Okay? But he's hard to get. He knows we're gunning for him, and he's hiding. The Mossad is all over Iran now, doing all kinds of bad things to Iran. Their internet went out because they threw the switch. The Iranians threw the switch, and Elon Musk turned on Starlink for them, free internet, so they could send pictures out of the damage in Iran, and later on the protests and the riots and everything else. So that's going to be a bad thing for Iran. Do I think Iran's going to close the Straits of Hormuz? Yes, because they're grasping for an answer. They want this to stop, okay? They're not going to go sign a nuclear treaty with Trump, because if they do that, the way they think in the Middle East is the next time America wants something from us, they'll just tell Israel to attack us again, and again, and again, and again. So they're never going to go for this, okay? They'll have the country destroyed before they do that. Iran destroyed. So what do we got to look forward to? Well, during the day, we're not getting a lot of attacks. Why? Although this morning we did get some drones coming from Jordan. They were taken down. I heard the takedown. Jordan's very, very close to me. If I took a long walk for most of the day, I'd get there by foot. Not most of the day, probably 3-4 hours, 5 hours, something like that. But by car, it's, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. It's pretty easy to get to the border of Jordan. So I don't know why Jordan didn't take the drone down. Maybe they couldn't. I don't know what happened, but we took it down. Maybe Iran had an agent in Jordan launch it from Jordan near the border, so they couldn't really take it down. I don't know what happened, but we took it down. There was some other, I think another drone. I think it was 2 drone incidents this morning after daylight. So something is not going well. With that, but you see a lot of the missiles that Iran is shooting require the use of a liquid fuel, not a solid fuel. So you don't put liquid fuel in a missile and then come back 6 or 8 hours later and launch. You put the liquid fuel in, and 6 or 8 minutes or 15, 20 minutes later you launch. You don't let it sit around, okay? So they got to fill their missiles with fuel just before they launch. And they're afraid to be filling these missiles with fuel in the daylight because it makes it easier for Israel to find them. We have planes flying around Tehran much of the day now. And they're just looking for targets of opportunity, like somebody turning on radar for a missile launcher. Now, let me tell you something else. Now, this is a very ugly thing I'm going to tell you, and you need to really think about what I'm about to say. because you will see that what I'm saying is unavoidable. Okay? Missiles work a number of different ways. Basically, you got 4 ways to guide a missile. GPS. Since October 7th war, when you turn the GPS on here in Israel, like WAZ or Google Maps, we're in the Galilee, it would tell us that we're in Beirut, Lebanon. It's spoofed. Okay, that was done because Hezbollah would be sending missiles and drones trying to use that GPS. And when they got into Israel, it would tell them they were basically would be attacking Beirut, Lebanon, their own country. So we spoofed the GPS. So the chances of them using GPS to guide missiles to targets in Israel is 0. You could forget that one, okay? Everybody in Israel would know they didn't turn off the GPS and go crazy against them. So the GPS is off. Radar. Didn't Netanyahu knock out all their radar? What if Netanyahu didn't? What if Netanyahu on purpose left the radar on? So Iran would be able to attack us and get damage. And that would get the people in Israel very mad, thus assuring Netanyahu of a long war. Thus, he wouldn't have to testify in his criminal cases for a much longer period of time. And he might actually emerge a hero, and people would like him and let him get out from his criminal cases by weakening the power of the courts. How about them apples? Or maybe Trump and him are in on it together. Let Israel pay a price. Let these people in Israel get scared. Let them think that there may not be an Israel next week. Let's stop people from moving to Israel, which Netanyahu's done a great job of. And let's see if we can get the people from Israel to leave, go back to other countries. Why are their missiles getting through with pretty good precision? I think it's about 1,000 miles. Let me get a distance check for Iran, because I'm not sure if it's kilometers or miles. Let me check the distance. Distance by air, Iran to Israel. Stupid thing, typoed them. Try to do it again. Distance by air, Iran to Israel. To Israel. Yeah, I'm right. The shortest distance is 1,071 miles by air, or 1,724 kilometers. No, I was right. It's over 1,000 miles. So to hit these cities is probably coming like 11 or 1,200 miles or something like that, right? 1,100, 1,200 miles. It's not a short flight. So how are they getting their missiles in? Well, you have radar-controlled missiles that require a powerful radar to guide it. Now, Iran has a lot of mobile missile launchers. These are missile launchers on a trailer pulled by a big truck, like a Peterbilt or a Mack truck cab or something like that, right? or maybe even as something like an F-450 or something like that, right? But they'll have a generator with that, and they'll have radar with that. But that's not over the horizon radar. That's not long range radar. Maybe they can get 150 to 200 miles out of that radar. That's it. So that ain't guiding the missiles to Israel. Iran's not going to come out and tell us we got a nice over the horizon radar system we're using, and Netanyahu was good enough to not blow it up. Is Netanyahu sick enough to do that? I don't know. He's plenty sick. I don't know. I don't know if there is such a radar thing operating. I really don't know. And what are my suspicions? There's not such a radar thing operating anywhere. That's my suspicions. How the heck are they getting the missiles in? Well, let's keep digging. You have laser guided missiles. That's pretty sophisticated for Iran. And then you have optical missile systems where the missile actually reads the landscape and knows where it is. So you got to have a pretty substantial computer in the missile to interpret the readings that the optical lens is picking up. Do we think Iran has missiles like this, and at the same time they don't have any decent ground-to-air missile defense systems? Doesn't make sense. So what are some other alternatives? Well, we have to leave room for the fact that maybe they do have optical missiles and laser-guided missiles, although I don't know how the laser's going to help them. Let's take a look and see what Google is telling us. How does Iran, what kind of guided missiles does Iran have? Let's take a look. Let's see if we can get anywhere with this. Because none of this is making sense to me. What type of guided missiles does Iran have? Wikipedia is not worth going to. Let's see. No, this isn't giving me. Let me try a different search. How do the Iranians guide their ballistic missiles? digging here. Nobody's talking about their guidance systems. They're talking about mobile missiles. Now we know they have. James has it. That's the book of weapons. Iran unveils electro-optical guided. There we go. So it looks like it's not on Netanyahu. Like Netanyahu's really trying here. They're saying that Qasim Bashar also has a new carbon fiber body that makes almost invisible to radar. He added that the missile upgraded uses the lessons learned, blah, blah, blah. So they probably do have. Okay, this kind of explains what's going on. So it very likely is no subterfuge on the part of Netanyahu. I think he's really trying to get his revenge on Iran. They've made his life miserable, using Hamas to torment Israel, Hezbollah to torment Israel, Syria to torment Israel, Iraq to torment Israel, Yemen to torment Israel. You see, Iran had Israel afraid to attack them because they would just tell Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Yemen, Iraq to all attack Israel at the same time, and Israel would be in a bad way. Especially with a jackass like Biden as president. But remember, Trump's doing the same thing Biden's doing, using Israel as a proxy and just saying, oh, we'll try to take down missiles and drones for you, not actually helping us. What would helping us be? Blowing up missile systems in Iran, sending 60 or 80 jets in every day to destroy more missile systems. Why is Trump not doing that? Well, obviously he doesn't care about Israel, right? You got a better answer? Let me hear it. If he cared about Israel, he would do it. He's got to have at least 300 or 400 jets in the Middle East right now, probably 500. Maybe less, maybe 300, but he's got a ton of them. He's not doing anything to help us. Their attempts at taking down the missiles are pretty feeble. They can't do it. It's probably because Iran has developed these missiles that we can't get a good signature on. And that's why they're hitting us so effectively. Okay? Perhaps only 5% are getting through. The worst case, maybe 7, 8, or 10%. So we got pretty good missile defense systems, but some of it gets in. And they're probably using some sort of optical guidance system where they're reading the terrain of the land and interpreting where they are, and then the computer adjusts. So it doesn't require radar. And that all seems to make sense. Now, did they get this assistance from China and Russia in the technology department? Likely, but maybe not, but probably. So that's what's going on with that, and then that forces Netanyahu to do what? Well, it forces Netanyahu to just try to cause a lot of damage and destruction to Iran to make them throw the towel in and quit. quit, or devastate the country. Remember, the power grid in Tehran, the capital of Iran, is out. You know, how would you think, what would you feel like if Washington, D.C. or London's power grid was out from an attack from Iran? You wouldn't feel good about things, would you? Now, many of their missile systems are in Tehran. Can Israel get mileage out of this by knocking out the grid? Good question. What's the answer? Yes and no, because they probably have generators attached to the trucks with these missile launchers that can that don't need the electrical grid to operate. They use the truck engine and all that. You know, like you could, if the power's out, you could go turn your truck or your car on, plug your phone into the charger and charge your phone, right? Even though the power grid's off, that type of thing. Let me take a look at the live stream. Somebody writes, inertial guidance VFR mapping. I don't know what VFR mapping is, but if it's associated with GPS, GPS ain't working. Russia and China have their own GPS systems, but they're probably not working over here in Israel. We would just jam them and spoof them. There wouldn't be anything we'd allow them to work. I was thinking they might have a Russian or a Chinese warship here to guide their missiles. But there's no evidence of that. Nobody's talking about it. I think somebody would talk about it. Gas prices are going to skyrocket, probably. If they shut the Straits of Hormuz, you're not going to see 200 or 300 a barrel for that. You're going to see, you know, maybe 190. But let's take a look at gas prices now. Let's see what happened. Because destroying the oil refineries is not shutting the Straits of Hormuz. It's more serious. Now, no, the Straits of Hormuz will affect Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, probably not Oman, and maybe to some extent Jordan and Saudi Arabia. So, can be serious. Let's check crude. I better use the voice. This thing's broken. I need to use it. Okay. Crude oil spot prices now. I'm picking up $72, $74, but I don't know if that's really the latest. It's coming in from artificial intelligence of Google, which is not anything I'm impressed with. Trying to find the spot price of oil with the Google results is terrible because they're fraud sites. I just came up with 73.18. I would say it's $73, $74 a barrel for crude. Here I think I've got it now. It's a little bit higher, actually. Oh, we could say it's $74. That would be okay. So it's about 74. So it went up about $10. So it's not really going up. Let's see what gold and silver are doing. Gold is, like I said, up about $100. It's in the 34.30 range. Silver's staying in the 36s, so it's not rising. But give it a chance. When this gets going, it'll go. So I guess Iran probably did develop missiles that wouldn't be dependent on over the horizon radar, which would be very difficult for them to protect from Israel. Um, so what's going to happen is, since they tried to send drones at us again after we hit the oil refineries, they're going to continue to attack us. They're going to do it at night. And um, I have a feeling Netanyahu may attack during the day, but I think he's waiting for them to attack us with their missiles at night, and then he's attacking Iran with our planes and our drones and our missiles from the aircraft. And that disrupts Iran and probably interferes with their plans to launch the ballistic missiles, because they're freaking out, because when they turn their missile launchers on, they're afraid they're going to get killed, you know? Now, we have 40 dead, but there's 35 missing persons, where there's rubble in buildings that were hit in Tel Aviv area, and probably a lot of those people are in the rubble. They may be alive, they're probably not. And there was over 200 wounded, so this was a very serious attack last night. And Netanyahu has to come back. Netanyahu has to come back with a very significant attack. And there's a lot of oil refineries in Iran. Let's see how many. Iranians have how many oil refineries? Nine. And we hit two. Out of the nine, probably six are significant as a guess. So there's going to be a lot of oil refinery hitting. Now we got to talk about what China's going to do. I'll be right back. China gets most of their oil from Iran. China needs oil to heat houses, to run industry, cars, trucks, airplanes, railroads, the whole bit. They are a energy hungry mega state. They don't have the capability to make their own oil. Natural gas also they need. So Israel hits today or tomorrow the rest of the oil refineries, and then we hit the ports and the piers in Iran, which we already did, the big port. Iran ain't getting China ain't getting no oil. Is China going to come over here and help Iran? No, they would have done it already. It's too late. It's very difficult for China to manage a war this far away, that far away from their home. It's one thing to attack Taiwan 110 miles away. That's easy for them. And they could attack Japan, which is not any great distance, and they could attack, having North Korea attack South Korea, and they could mess with the Philippines, which is a very weak country, extremely weak, and that type of thing, okay? Trying to come over to the Middle East is really difficult. They would need to base in a country, and the only country that would likely let them base there would be Iran or Yemen. And that is asking to have your military resources destroyed in those places because they're definitely on the endangered species list. So I don't think China's going to do much about coming over here to save Iran. Russia can't do anything. North Korea are idiots. They tried to help Russia, and their soldiers got lost, got killed, and those were his commandos, supposedly. So what the heck is he going to do? Nothing. Who's going to come to the aid of Iran? Turkey? No. No, I don't know who's going to come to their aid. Iraq says we had enough wars. We're sitting this one out. They're not trying. They don't want to help them. Yemen will help them. When Iran attacks us, Yemen attacks us too, but they're feeble attempts. And we hit Yemen last night, targeted assassination. We hit Gaza, we hit Yemen, and we hit Iran all in one night. How about that? So if they do close the Straits of Hormuz, which I would say there's an 80-90% chance they'll do that, why? Because they want this to stop. They can attack Israel all right, but that doesn't stop them from getting bombed, and bombed. Okay? And a few more days of this, and their infrastructure, their military command structure, their oil refineries are going to be toast. Next comes the mosques and the minarets, but that's a little tricky. I would do it, but I don't think Netanyahu will, because it'll cause the Muslims around the world to rise up at an insane level. But he might do it. Killing Khomeini is a good idea because he's half religious and half political. So that's a good one. But going after the mosques and the mullahs and stuff like that is a very specious thing. I mean, that could cause a lot of blowback that we don't need. Okay. So the type of things that Israel could hit, which is going to fulfill Jeremiah 49. And I thought this was going to take a long time. I don't think it will at all, a few more days. Israel has to stop Iran from attacking us and breaking down. First of all, if you destroy their power grids throughout the country, will that help Israel? It has to. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. It has to. Why? Driving will become difficult. No red lights, no green lights, stuff like that, right? Very difficult to go to the gas station and pump gas because those pumps are electric. Now, the military probably will have generators that they can use in gas vehicles, and they're going to be able to operate to a certain extent. But let's talk about all the problems. The food in the supermarkets is going to go bad. It's summertime in the Middle East. Iran has no trouble hitting 90, 100 degrees temperatures, okay? No trouble. How long will the food in the supermarkets last? Well, you might get 2 to 3 days out of it. You might. So the stores will have to run sales or get a generator. Now, a supermarket that's 35,000 square feet with huge amount of freezers for meat, vegetables, and all, what kind of generators are you going to need? Well, you're going to probably need a generator the size of a school bus, seriously, or at least the size of a big SUV. Probably more like a short school bus to run the supermarket. Now, some of them may have that, but most probably don't. People's houses, the freezers and refrigerators, they're going to not work. So there's going to be issues with food. People will be running to the supermarkets and trying to buy dry goods that'll keep. Like, what is dry goods? Well, cereal, cookies, cakes, pasta, stuff like that. Now, Israel should hit their water supply too, but the electric is more conducive to making it more difficult for Iran to fight. Think about it. Their air conditioning is out. A lot of their lights are out. There's only so far they can go with generators, okay? Only so far, all right? And you got to keep refilling these generators frequently. So they need to be able to put more fuel, more diesel or gasoline, whatever they're using. So civilian vehicles are going to stop running because they're not going to have gas. So your trucks, your taxis, your vehicles are going to go. People aren't going to be going to school or university. People aren't going to be coming to work. You're going to have a lot of chaos. So taking the electrical grid down all over the country or in the major cities or in any location where the military is active is a good thing. It deactivates the military too. It hurts their communications. Now they got to get all their radios charged with a generator or a vehicle. It cripples the country, not 100%, probably 65%. It makes things very bad for them, which is going to make things better for us. Their airports aren't going to be able to function correctly. Okay? So hitting the power grids, which apparently we did in Tehran last night, is a very good thing to protect and preserve Israel. What else? Hitting the military complex, not all of it is underground. Probably 80% of it is above ground. Hitting those places logistics, intelligence. We already hit intelligence. Transportation. A lot of the mundane things that the military does, like buying of food, of clothing, uniforms, furniture, vehicles, fuel, and all this stuff. These are facilities that are above ground. Blow them up. It cripples the military. Blow everything up you can with the military. They were already doing this. Israel's already started this. And the oil refineries, and we got to get the pipelines for natural gas and oil, and we got to get the piers. Now, when they close the Straits of Hormuz, the $1 million question is, how do they close it? Their best way is they'll take their miniature submarines, which I think they have a dozen of. Each of the submarines is probably going to have 5 or 10 nautical or naval landmines in there. And they're going to go submerged in the Straits of Hormuz and lay mines and make a map of where they put them. Now, I don't know what sophistication these mines are going to have. They could be stupid World War II mines with spikes on them that just float around. And when ships go through the Straits of Hormuz, they have to be very careful that they don't hit one of these spikes, which will cause a 500 to a 2,000 pound mine to explode at a distance of a few inches from the hull of the ship and cause more than likely tremendous damage at the waterline or below, which is very dangerous for a ship. Having a hole 3 feet above the waterline is nowhere near as bad as having a hole at the waterline where the water just keeps flowing in. Got it? And the naval mines float on the water, and the explosion will be at the water level. That's where it's going to blow up, and that's where the hole is going to be. Very devastating to ships. Now, that's an immature, junky landmine. The more sophisticated mines, they use some sort of an anchor type thing to have the mine sit under the surface of the water. It could be 50 feet, it could be 20 feet, 30 feet, whatever. And mine has some sort of batteries in it that allow it to last for a period of time, probably a few months. It might have a battery this big, and it pings, waiting for a magnetic signature from the metal hull of the boat. Okay, boats are generally not made out of a titanium hull, which wouldn't respond to a magnet. I've never heard of a boat made entirely out of titanium. So when the boat goes over the mine knows there's a boat there from the pinging, and it detonates from below the water, below the hull of the boat. So they try to drive the force upwards. So this massive explosive force, which is like, the analogy here would be a depth charge against a submarine in World War II or today. The depth charge is a big barrel of the high explosives. They don't normally expect to have the depth charge land on the body of the submarine 200 or 300 feet under the water. They hope the depth charge gets close to the submarine and explodes, and the percussive force of the explosion causes the submarine to break up or causes leaking or other damages. Okay? That's how the submarines get killed with depth charges. So this mine is basically a depth charge, but it's going off underneath the hull of the boat. So it can break the hull of the boat, depending on the boat, depending on what kind of load the boat has. If the boat has 80,000 tons of fuel or grain on it or something like that, it may not break it. Or it might, I don't know. If it's an empty boat, it probably will, and toss it up, you know. So they could use mines like that. Do they have them? Yeah, countries have had these things for 30, 40 years. I'm sure they got them. Okay? So the insurance companies are going to be very quick to tell their customers that their insurance in the Persian Gulf is canceled. Or they'll quadruple the rates or something like that, you know. They're not going to, I think they'll just cancel the insurance. There'll be insurance on the actual naval vessel itself, the merchant marine vessel that carries the oil or the grain or the containers. And there'll be insurance on the load, the contents of the containers or the grain or the oil or the natural gas or whatever the heck they got in the boat, right? And there's insurance on the crew. The survivors of the crew, if they get killed at sea, they probably get at least $100,000. Maybe if they're from China or something, maybe 25,000 or 50,000. If they're from Europe or America, maybe $250,000 or $500,000 in, catastrophe insurance. I don't know. And it's usually about 20 guys on the boats like this. Not that many, 30 at most, maybe. 40 would be huge. But if you're paying $250,000 a head, and you got even 20 people, that's several millions of dollars, plus the insuring $100 or $200 million boat, and a $40 or $50 million cargo or something, or more. It's a lot of money. The insurance companies aren't going to want to play with that. Or they may just declare it a force majeure event, an act of war, and they don't intend to pay on this force majeure event. So the shipping companies are going to not want to move their craft in or around or through the Persian Gulf till this blows over, if it blows over. That will throw oil prices to at least $120 a barrel, and it could very possibly go to $200 or $300 a barrel, which will cripple the prices of gas at the pump. People aren't going to be able to go to work. The other day, oil was at 60, so if it goes to 180, it tripled. So if you're paying $3 a gallon, now you're paying $9. So take somebody in America. Now, Europe's paying $9 when times are good. They'll be paying $18, $20 more. They're not going to be able to go to work in Europe with their car. They're going to have to use public transportation, which will be subsidized by the governments, or not go to work. Now, in America, people buy pickups and SUVs and big engine cars and stuff like that. So, it's pretty common for somebody to burn, 2 gallons going to work and 2 gallons coming back. That's no big deal. These pickups and stuff in traffic, that's like 30 miles, with the air conditioning on. They might burn 3 gallons a day. Let's say they burn 2 at $9. That's $18 coming, going, $36. Let's round it to 40. So they're spending $40 a day times 5, 200 times 4. They're spending $800 a month on gasoline now. Do you think there's going to be a lot of people that can't afford to drive their pickup and their SUV to go to work? They'll be able to make it the first month or so. They'll try carpooling if they can. They'll try different tricks. Trump will probably be able to sell oil to Americans at a subsidized low price and get away with that. I think he'll be able to do it for a while anyway. But what about South America, Central America? Those governments are dumbbells. They're not going to do anything to help the people. What about parts of Asia? Same thing. What are they going to do? What about Africa? Their leaders aren't going to do anything. What about Europe? Well, I don't know what they're going to do. What about the Middle East countries? I don't know. Some of them that have their own gas don't care. You know, they're fine. But I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be pretty major. And they're hoping that they could bring the world to their knees and what Iran will negotiate for is we want the relief of all sanctions, we want our money back that America froze, we want the war with Israel stopped, and then you're going to be free to move oil in and out of the Persian Gulf, and so will we. And what are the chances of this working? Well, the chances of it crippling the economy of the world are very, very strong. The chances of the nations of the world giving in to Iran are very, very low. Let me check the live stream. They're not going to just say, oh yeah, we'll keep it. If the internet keeps dropping, it's probably your internet, your local internet, because I'm not getting anybody else saying the same thing. So, well, good news from New Zealand. We have an awake person there. That's always nice. Please hit the thumbs up button, guys. That's not asking you to subscribe. It takes 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and it helps me. If you don't want to help me, I understand. If you dislike me, I understand that, because most people do. But if you like the broadcast and you're getting something out of it, how much energy is it to hit that like button, which helps the channel and helps us spread things to other people, okay? And you know the way I talk and the things I reveal to you are not what you see from the other channels. They're all talking about emergency action messages, nuclear codes. This is such crap, you know? Emergency action messages. What the heck? These people have been listening to those for years. They don't know anything about what these messages mean or anything. It's ridiculous, you know? I mean, they're just trying to sell you survival equipment and make a commission off it. That's all they're trying to do. It's stupid. You don't know what the militaries are saying. When the militaries get serious, and they did get serious some weeks ago, and all these survivalists were saying, well, we're not getting any EAMs now. The military must be broadcasting using a different method. Of course they are. It's a different frequency that these characters can't pick up. They don't know what it is. It could be rotating frequencies that change by the hour. And the encryption level on this stuff is going to be massive, and it may be a burst transmission. What's a burst transmission? They condense the transmission into something that's going to sound like, and it's over. 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds maybe. And then the aircraft receives it, and the computers in the aircraft interpret the burst because they know the proper code, and then they play it or print it out for the pilot. That's called the burst transmission. Now, by the time, or it may just not be burst, it may be a lengthy transmission of some sort, that's encrypted heavily. See, all they got to do is make the message unintelligible for a couple of hours, and then it's old, outdated information a few hours later or something like that. You know, now, if they're going to issue strike codes to the aircraft, in other words, the aircraft gets an order, and then they get a code to verify the order, it's not going to sound like Alpha, Romeo, Sierra, Foxtrot. It's going to be a thing probably of 200 or 300 characters, if not 500. And it's probably not going to come by voice. It's going to come by a person's voice, and it'll be something else. The other thing they do when it gets serious, they shut their transponders off. So all this radar tracking stuff doesn't work. Now they could say, oh, there's a lot of C-17s going into Qatar and Diego Garcia. Great. Does that tell us? Yeah, it tells us that America's building up an arsenal to fight in the Middle East, Iran, and so it's reasonably helpful. But when it gets serious, there's no transponders turned on. You think when Israel goes to Iran, they turn the transponders on the jets. They're wasting your time with these people. They have no concept of Bible prophecy, none whatsoever. The only thing you'll ever hear from them is Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is roughly 70 years away, but they don't know that. And they just, get you scared with the nuke threat and all this other garbage to get you to buy more survival equipment. That's how they make their living, and they make a very good living at it too. And people like it because they say they're Christians. Most of them, of course, are the furthest thing from the Christian you could imagine. They say they're Christians, and there's no condemnation to them. They never tell the people not to do anything. They tell the people what to do, and the things they tell the people what to do are contrary to having faith in the Lord. It says, no evil shall come near your dwelling in Proverbs. Is that consistent with going out and buying all kinds of iodine pills and bulletproof vests and dugout locations and bug out locations? Yeah, come on. They're teaching the people to rely on themselves, not Jehovah or Yeshua. That's what a survivalist does. Does the survivalist say, I'm a child of God and I'm going to make it through this? No. Survivalist says, I'm fortunate enough to have enough money that I could buy all the right equipment and I'm going to survive the Holocaust that's going to come. And it don't work that way, guys, but they'll never tell you that. Because in these days, at the end of the age, the children of the Lord don't have much money. Because the greed of the Satan bots has grown over the years to an amazing level of we live very, very poorly, and they live very, very richly. If you're a Satan bot and you're not wealthy, you must be a real lousy Satan bot. But there is no good Satan bot, it's a joke. I heard from some people that know the inner circle of, wealthy people, and anyway, that Trump's associates in the private sector predominantly wanted him to get rid of Elon Musk. They didn't trust or like Elon Musk. They said that Elon Musk is a good guy. He's weird. He doesn't act like other people necessarily, but he's a very good business person, and they just didn't feel comfortable with him, with the Trump administration. They wanted him out, so Trump pushed him out. Probably healed the bad blood they had between themselves, and I don't think they're going to attack each other right now. So what are we going to see today we're probably not going to see daytime ballistic missile launches by Iran. Now, we're being told they're hypersonic missiles. Now, I'm not so sure the Iron Dome can take down hypersonic missiles, nor David Sling, nor the Arrow 2, but we do manage to take down 90-95% of the missiles, so, which is about right for missile defense systems. Having a missile defense system working at 98.5% or 99.5% is pretty out there. I don't think you can do it. 90-95% is pretty darn good. So they're sending their missiles. They might be mixing just non-hypersonic ballistic missiles, launch those, and then 5 minutes later launch the hypersonics to create very confusing swarm attack for Israel's Iron Dome and other defense systems. The shooting them down with planes is not highly productive. I heard so many Iron Domes go off last night. It was sounding like, when you put popcorn in the microwave and you turn it on, after a while it goes bop, 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 bop. That's what it was sounding like. My wife managed to sleep through it. I had woken up, I must have woke up 5 or 6 times during the night. I was hearing from the distance the windows shaking, which would mean there was either a landfall of a missile or an Iron Dome went off nearby. The dogs were getting upset. Beulah broke out of her kennel. Mommy was crying, and it was very. I got angry. I get angry at them for this. I get angry at them. So Netanyahu wants to pay Iran back for Yemen, for Hamas, for Hezbollah, for Syria, for Iraq, all this proxy stuff. And Iran doesn't have these proxies except for Yemen right now that can do anything to help them. So Netanyahu wants to get his pound of flesh fast and hard out of Iran. And Katz, our Minister of Defense, the guy who runs the military as a civilian, he told Iran that we were going to hit their oil and infrastructure and ruin their economy, and they didn't pay attention. If you're going to hit civilian targets, the Iranians didn't pay attention. They kept going at civilian targets, and a few hours later, Katz started doing it, hitting the refineries. I don't think we're going to be attacking them during the day, because I think Netanyahu wants to save the planes to attack at night when they're trying to attack us, which will make their lives way more confusing. At the same time they're trying to attack us, they're being attacked voraciously, and panic is going to keep setting in Iran. So I can understand a lot of what Netanyahu does, and in the final analysis, I have to say, I think Netanyahu is sincere in trying to destroy Iran. There's a lot of side issues, like what the heck is going on with Trump and him, and why is Trump pushing Netanyahu's buttons, but it looks like that. There is no more nuclear discussions or treaty talks. It's over. Iran has no intention of engaging in any of that right now. Trump is moving more military equipment to the Middle East. We'll find out more exactly what it is. There are a number of warships on the way over here. No more aircraft carriers. Destroyers, his version is to help with takedowns of missiles. Maybe, but I think they're coming for other reasons. And the embassy in Baghdad yesterday was either hit or there was an attempted hit on it by Iran. That's in Iraq. Baghdad's in Iraq. I don't think Trump cares one way or the other about that. I couldn't get to the bottom of it if it really was hit or it was just fired on. And there is a rumor that a base was hit, an American base, but I can't verify it. I'm going to check in a minute, see if we can verify some of this stuff. So during the day, it's probably going to be quiet. We might see some random drones occasionally come through Jordan, not from the government of Jordan, from Iran, or from, uh, one or two independent players up in Lebanon or something like that. Gaza tried launching 2 missiles last night, didn't work. Um, we're going to see more targeted assassinations in Iran. We're going to see different government building. We're going to see, like, not just government military. You'll see government like Department of Food and Drugs or highways or tourism. All their government infrastructure stuff is going to get hit. The priorities are going to be the the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the intelligence agencies, but they'll also hit other agencies to create confusion and bewilderment in the country. They're going to probably hit more electrical grid. They're going to start hitting more radar for civilian airports, probably damaging airports, ports, piers. And if it progresses, railroad tracks, overpasses, tunnels, bridges, all kinds of stuff will get hit. When you start blowing up bridges and tunnels, civilian ones, you interfere with shipping and movement of military goods and civilian goods. When you hit the electrical grid, everything gets harder over there. So will we break the back of Iran? Well, with prophecy, Iran gets so busted up that people leave the country, and it may include Iraq and Syria, because the name of the country is called Elam, and a lot of historians and historical cartographers would believe that it includes parts of Iraq and Syria, but it might just be Iran. We'll have to watch it. Syria's got no threatening radar or ground-to-air defense systems, so we could fly freely over there, and we seem to be able to fly freely over Iraq and Iran. So we have extreme air superiority. And Netanyahu, at the same time as damaging the infrastructure, will be hitting factories and storage facilities for weapons. And I don't think he's going to keep bothering hitting nuclear facilities, but he might. He might. The value of the Iranian currency is going to drop like a rock, making more problems for the people in Iran. So tonight there'll be more attacks on Iran, probably a couple of slight attacks during the day, normally with drones, not aircraft. And I'm going to take a quick break, and I can handle questions when I get back. It's going to be a rough night tonight, I can guarantee you that. Okay. Yeah, tonight's gonna probably be a pretty rough night, guys, for us. I'm not looking forward to it. Waking up 5, 6 times during the night is, I don't feel like I had a great night's sleep. Let's put it that way. Maybe you can pray that me and my wife sleep well during this. We'd appreciate that. The country is reasonably well shut down, too. Only essential businesses and services are open, which means hardware stores, pharmacies, medical, food, gasoline stations. Restaurants can deliver, you can pick up, you could eat there. Maybe you can't eat there, I don't know. I'm not sure about the restaurants. They might just be delivering. They might not want anybody gathering in the restaurant because the restaurants aren't going to have a bomb shelter to hold everybody. So it might be nothing more than takeout and delivery. I expect that's the case. I don't know how long it'll last. My wife says 2 weeks. I think it'll be over for a lot faster. I expect America will get in the fight one way or another. Iran is continuing to say they're going to hit the American bases, but they haven't had the guts to do it. So what I want to do now is go through my social media, which is based on Arabic and Hebrew and Farsi and all kinds of foreign languages, and go through and see what's going on since we started the live stream. I've got something here, it's in Hebrew, but I got it translated. It's quicker that way. This computer is so broken. The screen is so sensitive. Okay. What is this going on here? I'm telling you, every time I touch it, it changes. Telegram is horrible for a Apple product. It's simply, every time I move the screen, it takes me to a new site, and I can't disconnect that. They're trying to figure out what missile hit Bat Yam, which is next to Tel Aviv, last night. I'm not very worried about what missile hit that. I'm not going to track that down. Let me keep looking. I think the death count is 9. People are saying it's 8. I believe it's 9, though. The protests in America went pretty smoothly on the 14th, which was yesterday. The total dead were 10, including a Muslim family in a little town called Tamra that got hit by an Iranian missile. They killed some Muslims. 4 of the 10 deaths were these Muslims. Some people are praying that Iran would hit the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I'll leave that up to you what to do with it. Oh, it appears that they did do something. They sent UAVs. A UAV is an unmanned aerial vehicle, a drone. Hold on a minute. This is from Trump. The U.S. had nothing to do with the attack on Iran tonight. If we are attacked in any way, shape, or form by Iran, the full strength and might of the U.S. American forces will come down on you at levels never seen before. However, we can easily get a deal done between Iran and Israel and this bloody conflict. So Trump is back with the let's give peace a chance line, which is bogus. It was reposted by the U.S. Secretary of Defense and the U.S. Secretary of State. So Trump is warning Iran, but you can't warn a psychotic serial killer, and that's what Khomeini is. It doesn't do any good to warn them. It's a joke. Okay. Western news agencies report that tonight, for the first time in many months, American targets in Iraq were attacked. 3 UAVs were launched towards the American base in Ain al-Assad in Iraq. All 3 were intercepted. No party has claimed responsibility for the launches. There are 2 possibilities as to who was the sender. Pro-Iraq Shiite militias, highly likely, or Iran, low probability, because they don't want to infuriate America. So Trump may not mobilize on this, because he's very hesitant and fearful about Iran too. Several Iranian military sites, military bases were attacked also. I don't think Trump's going to respond to that attack because nothing happened. It was taken down, and they don't know if it was the militias that did it or if it was Iran or if Iran directed the militias. We don't know. Maybe Trump will react on it. I don't know. Netanyahu would probably like to see that happen. That'd be the end of Iran in 72 hours, probably. Let's see if we got any other events here. So they did try to attack. They did attack the American base, 3 bases apparently, or bases or base in Iraq, but it wasn't a successful attack, but it was an attempt with drones. Basically, the Iranians concentrated their missiles on Haifa and the Tel Aviv area. We have 35 people trapped in buildings, and I seriously doubt they're all dead. Maybe some, but probably a lot of them are not dead. And we've got pretty darn good rescue workers, believe me. And I'm sure they've been working for hours. Iran's been hitting high-rise buildings So nothing significant. Let me keep poking around for another few minutes. The Americans have ordered the citizens to leave Iran immediately, citing serious increases in dangerous regional tensions. I think one of the fears that America has is Iran taking Americans as hostages. Trump's going to learn a hard lesson about psychotic serial killers like the Iranians. We don't know who fired the drones at the American base in Iraq yet. Earlier this morning, around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, we actually took down about 7 drones. I didn't know it was that many. Seven people are still missing, so they probably dug out a lot of the people that could have been trapped. "11 people have died from yesterday's attack, including 4 children, 11 dead, and over 200 injured. This is a very, very serious attack, and Netanyahu's going to have to step it up substantially. Attacking Iran, he's going to step it up. We are finding Iranian missile boosters, so that's the part of the missile that falls away. So they got some pretty sophisticated junk. Yep. I'm a little concerned what China's going to do, because by the middle of the week, if not by tomorrow, they're going to be losing their oil supply. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. So I think that's... Wait, I got some more source here. Let me check real quick. We definitely caused a lot of damage in Iran, but guys, this is not over. All right, that's pretty much what I got. Let me check the live stream for questions. Please hit the thumbs up button. It takes you 2 seconds. That's like a minimal effort. I'm not asking you to send me money. I'm asking you to hit the thumbs up button. You might want to subscribe because when things get crazy, I'm going to do multiple emergency live streams during the day. Right now, I'm mostly focusing on Telegram. Those of you that follow me on Telegram are getting great updates. Okay, that's what I got for now. I'm sure there's going to be more later. Please pray for me and my wife that we sleep good and we feel good. It's hard to sleep through having the doors and the windows shake and the sirens going off and hearing big explosions in the sky like popcorn popping in a microwave, you know. It's a little difficult to sleep through that. And pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. Pray for our animals and pets to be safe and sound and happy, healthy, and whole. They're all rescues. Pray for our finances and pray for our peace and calm and joy. Pray for better videos. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray the Lord shows me more stuff about what's really going on that most people are not aware of. And this is going to lead to the destruction of the daughter of Babylon. That's one of our jets. I'll go with an F-35 on that one. Okay, so he's going to use America to hit Iran, probably other countries as well, and then something's going to happen badly to America. Jeremiah 50:51, Revelation 17:18, Isaiah 47. It's going to go down very soon, and that's a good thing. And lift up your head, your redemption draweth nigh. Yeshua's going to appear in the clouds soon. The siege is going to start. Elijah and Enoch will be working openly. It's going to be great. It's a little bad now, but it's going to be great soon. You're going to really love what's going on. You'll be so happy. You'll be praising the Lord spontaneously all the time. Okay, tossed salad and whole enchilada on the government of Israel, every aspect of it, and the government of Iran, and the American government. Let's create confusion for them. Okay? They're not our friends. They're enemies of Jehovah. So tossed salad and whole enchilada on the American government, the Iranian, and the Israeli. Let's stop the unclean spirits from trying to run the show. Bind them from controlling these governments or in any way, shape, or form getting the people in these governments to listen to them. Bind them from doing so for 2 years or something. A year even is plenty. Okay? Even a month will do it, you know? And let's see where that takes us. It ought to be interesting. Trump's not completely committed yet, so he might run away or something, but we'll see what he does. Okay? I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Much thanks to the moderators. And I'm out for now, but I'm sure you'll be hearing from me later, if nowhere else on Telegram.